Now, you may wonder where can be applicable. Of course, our focus is academia. We focus on K12, we focus also on TVET or CTE, and we also work in higher education. So all these areas are covered. Let me share with you some concrete examples. So the first one is related to K12. So this is an example of a project we've done in France together with, it's called Lexis. It's a project that was created in collaboration with the French Educational Department and designed for a K12 audience. It covers multiple fields. You can see World War I, you can see energy, you can see traffic safety, and many other things that you can experience in this environment. It's an intimate way for the teacher to collaborate and converse with the student. The students can do homework in an immersive and very experiential way. They can actually interact, they can learn by doing versus just, looking at a movie. So this is a very exciting type of project. Now, and for this project, you can have, for example, a lab, as you can see here. So you can do that in a mobile environment, but you can also switch the lab in augmented reality. So you have your lab walk around using just a mobile device. So that's a more practical example of what you can do in this. Now, the type of application here are, I would say, almost endless for K12. So let me highlight just a few. So you can do, for example, shark adventure, VR jungle, aquarium. We have an aquarium that I think has been visited by 25 million people. There was an early application with it. But also practical things like safety, public transit, flood safety, things related to math, STEM, science, technology, math. So you can see here that there are endless opportunities and applications that are being created by users, but also can be created by you in very, very easy way. Okay, so going back to the presentation. Yes, so now that we've returned, let's take another example from Asia. This is an example from Vietnam. I'm right now in Asia. When I'm recording this, I'm actually in Cambodia, where we are working with the government for a national rollout. And here we started with UNICEF in a collaboration for students. And these are young students, pioneers, and they have actually received, we also were able to provide the tablets, but most students have access to phones and tablets just using their parents' devices. So this project is extremely excited. We've grown fast. You can see here the student using just a phone. And they're using virtual reality, but they're also using augmented reality. So, and the students grabbed it immediately and were able to not only consume lessons, but more important, be able to create their own. So let's have a look. So here's an example, just a few examples of what they've been able to do, students, where they learn about various plants. In this case, they learn about insects. They learn about the planetary system. And you can see here they're using their phones, and they're using, and this is actually the old version of EON. It's already old, but they're using this in a very concrete way to learn, train, perform, and collaborate. And to be even more practical, here's an example what they've done. Security-based basic life skills in young children, biology, chemistry, physics, and many, many, many things more. Health, prevention of injury, understanding of atomic structures, characteristic of gases. The list goes on and on and on. So now that we have talked about that, there's much more you can do. This is an example from Italy. They are using K12 to learn about COVID and to help prevent students. Or this is from Spain. The teachers are taking K12 students to historical buildings, for example. Now let's move on to technical vocational training, or CTE. That is a very exciting area. I mean, if you look at, I showed this example very briefly before, if you look at virtual reality and in augmented reality, to a large extent, it's very helpful for things like nursing, hands-on, plumbing, electricity, everything that has to have hands-on when you can train on a procedure is very helpful. But another aspect of this that's very helpful is the ability to have machinery. Now, CNC machine cost a lot. TVET, all this, whether it's a robot, in this case we see how students are, this is in Spain, are training to program a robot. You don't have to buy them, and with our library that is more than 1.3 million assets today, going to more than 10 million assets, that's possible. But you can also do things like, for example, very practical standard operation procedure. And this specific one is done for an engine, and you can say that the trainer recorded a procedure, and basically what he's doing is using the phone to move left and right, the right sequence, while talking, walking and talking, pointing to things, taking pictures, creating their knowledge portals. All those things are possible to do. And then once they have that, then they can allow, they have done their 3D recording, they can use that 3D recording for the student to also do one and compare, and by comparing, getting the 3D assessment. So that's a very concrete way how you can use this for more advanced solutions. And the list goes on. I was mentioning earlier that I can bring people to my rooms. This is actually inviting various colleagues to explore the heart in my own work space. And they are there floating in space and walking around, pointing, conversing, and it's a very practical way to train nurses. What about going to a factory environment? So this is, you can train in this environment emergency situation. So now you see we're on a parking lot. The reason for that is that it's not enough space to do it in your living room. You have to walk maybe 100 meters. So you have to be careful where you are, obviously in a football field and so on. But in this case, you invite your avatars and the expert can take you to security processes or a new manufacturing procedure. So those are examples. Now, all these things work from your phone. So here we can see the user is just using his phone and he's pointing to various things, and in the phone he sees his colleagues that are somewhere else. And as you move the phone up and down, the phone then registers the different things that you see there. And if we could hear the volume, which I can, it's turned off now, you can hear that he's talking with them, pointing them, instructing them, and everybody in this case, they're doing a procedure for appendix removal. And you can see how efficient it is to be several people interact. You see there they are moving things around, etc. So just using your phone. Now, another thing that's interesting is that you need to personalize. There is a capability to personalize your avatar. So this, we are working on this is a technology from a third party that allows you to just use the phone, capture that, and I put him in my own workroom. You can see it's an avatar. So, and you can of course use this for many things. Students like to personalize their environments, but you can also use it for things like, for example, fashion, or you can also use it for things like art, dance, and it is much more engaging when you use your own avatar. So, I could go on for hours. I will not do that. I'm very excited about technical vocational training because I think in many areas, in New York, you can see that the plumber can earn more by becoming a good plumber than being a lawyer. So today there is too little of these practical skills for future skills. So in here we have applications for oil and gas, for power grids, for plumbing, for cranes, for mining safety, airport application, chainsaw operations, virtual laboratories, machine training, fall prevention, and the list goes on and on. So I'll stop there because time doesn't allow us to do all this. Okay, so let's move on. Last but not least, higher education. So I was in London recently, and during my trip in London, one thing I did, we did an inauguration at the East London University. So I invited a friend from Sweden, and he was actually doing a lecture for the people here that were attending. This was during the prep for the presentation, so they were still chatting. So Vincent from Sweden was there. The lab is obviously virtual, and we are able to interact in this environment, talk at an exhibit, with a full, you can see there's a high level of engagement there from the various people. And he also brought Linda with him. So there's a lady, Linda Åberg and Vincent, both from our Swedish office, interacting at the presentation for higher education. Now, obviously, this can be used for doctor training. This is an example from CHOC, Children's Hospital of Orange County, that is used for alleviating stress for young pediatric patients that are to undergo, but also train nurses how to best perform this very complicated or procedure. But also here you can see this little path that helps to guide and also, yeah, lower the stress, so to speak, with students, including having them guided by whales and many exciting things here. But bottom line, training of nurses and doctors in, as well as patient education. So that's an example. Going back to the previous example that we saw from my phone, so this is the view when you just look at the phone in full range, and you can see here that they're interacting with devices, they are conducting procedures, so it's very, very engaging. Another thing that I would like to share is interior decoration. So here I'm in Laguna Beach. I'm actually on my terrace, and my terrace is empty, there's nothing there. But as you can see here, it looks like I am in some type of hospitality environment. Okay, so wow, I've been working a lot in the computer, as you can see, 18 hours, that's a lot. So you can look at this, and you have the ability to do interior design, change colors, move things around, plan. So for architecture solutions, when you want to experience the life-size one-to-one, this is a wonderful way. But also, in addition to that, you can see the amazing visual quality that currently, you see that camera that is there. That's this is the value of the new solution. So I am in my garden now and experiencing this environment in transparent mode and full mode for architecture. How about higher education for logistics and manufacturing procedures? So this is an example. This is, so you can see there's a real person there, and there are virtual guests invited, and the virtual guests can not only point, but they can also move things around, as you can see here. So the ability to be both people that are physical, virtual in that environment, and plan, train, etc. is very valuable. I'm a big fan of archaeology. So here's an example of Mesa Verde. This is a place in Arizona that I visited, and you can conduct actually archaeological trips to those places using spatial meetings. So everything to history, either things that currently exist or even reconstructions and of things. So that's another example. Of course, I just to share a little bit more advanced applications also. Let's have a look at that. In this case, I think my internet is low here in Cambodia. That's where we have the little delay. Okay, so here is higher education. So ophthalmology application, art history, aneurysm studies, virtual anatomy decisions, sepsis diagnosis, Van Gogh's experiences for art, heart simulation, submarine and psychology when you're underwater, King Tut's chambers, and many, many more. These are just some examples. Okay, so that was EON Academic Focus.